The moment you finally felt safe with him, that is the exact moment he started to disappear, and nobody ever explains why. Welcome back, my dear. I'm WisdomAuntie, and today we are going to talk about one of the most confusing and quietly devastating experiences in dating and relationships. The moment a man who seemed so certain about you suddenly becomes distant. He pulls back, he creates space, and you are left standing in that space wondering what changed and what, if anything, you did wrong. Picture this. Things have been going beautifully. He is warm, attentive, and present. He initiates conversations. He makes plans. He shows up in ways that make you feel like you have finally found someone who is genuinely here. And so, perhaps for the first time in a long while, you allow yourself to feel safe. You lower your guard. You let him in. And then, almost without warning, something shifts. His messages become shorter. He takes longer to respond. The energy between you feels different in a way you can feel but cannot quite name. So you do what most women do. You go back through everything, every conversation, every moment, every word, searching for the thing you said or did that caused this change. You begin editing yourself, monitoring your words, wondering if you were too open, too available, too much. My dear, I want you to stop right there, because the story you are telling yourself about why he pulled away is almost certainly not the true one. And here is the thing most people never tell you about this. In many cases, a man does not pull away because something went wrong. He pulls away because something went right. And that single shift in understanding changes everything about how you respond. I want you to understand something important about how many men experience emotional intimacy, because it is genuinely different from how most women move through it. For many women, growing closeness feels like safety, like arriving somewhere warm and finally being able to breathe. But for many men, particularly those who grew up in environments where vulnerability was not modeled, where emotional openness was discouraged or associated with pain, that same growing closeness can feel overwhelming, not because they do not care, but precisely because they do. Here's the truth. When a relationship begins to deepen, when the feelings become real and undeniable, something in a man who has not fully learned to sit with deep emotion begins to react, not to her, but to the feeling itself. He does not think to himself, "I should pull back." It is not a conscious decision. It is a pattern so old and so automatic that in many cases, he himself cannot fully articulate why he is doing it. He only knows that he needs space, that he needs to feel like himself again, that something that was beginning to feel very large now requires some distance before he can come back to it. And this is important. This is not always the whole story. There is another reason some men pull away that deserves honest attention. In some cases, the withdrawal has nothing to do with being overwhelmed by feeling. It is a signal that his level of investment was always different from what he expressed, that the warmth you experienced was real, but perhaps more about the early stage of getting to know someone than about genuine growing commitment. This is a harder truth, but it is one you deserve to hold. The difference between these two realities will always reveal itself over time. A man who pulled away because he needed to process will come back. He will return with some warmth, some acknowledgement, some desire to reconnect. A man who was gradually withdrawing from something he was never fully invested in will continue in one direction. The pattern of return, or the absence of it, tells you everything.
Now that you understand why this happens, let me help you recognize it in your own life. Pay attention to this. There are specific signs that tell you a man is pulling away, and understanding what each one actually means can help you respond from a place of clarity rather than fear. The first sign is a shift in how he communicates, both in frequency and in warmth. He used to reach out throughout the day. Now his messages are shorter, slower, and feel more like responses than initiations. The curiosity he had about your life seems quieter. The conversations feel more surface level. When this happens consistently over days or weeks, it is not your imagination. Something has genuinely changed in his engagement. The second sign is that he becomes physically present but emotionally absent. He is still there, but he is not really with you. You are in the same room, but the connection feels thinner. For example, when a man who used to ask about the details of your day suddenly seems to be listening with only part of his attention, what he is showing you is that he has retreated somewhere inside himself. It is not necessarily about you, but it is something worth noticing. The third sign is that he becomes vague about the future. Where he once made plans naturally and with enthusiasm, now everything is "we'll see" or "let me know." This vagueness, especially from a man who was once forward-looking and consistent, is a meaningful shift. A man who is certain about you does not become suddenly uncertain about simple plans. The fourth sign is how he responds when you gently name the distance. A man who pulls away temporarily because he is processing something internal will usually make some effort to reassure you. He might say, "I know, I've just had a lot on my mind. I'm still here." But a man who becomes defensive, dismissive, or turns your honesty into a problem is showing you something important about how he handles emotional accountability. And the fifth sign is the one most women try hardest to ignore: your own inner knowing. Something feels off. You cannot perfectly explain it, but you feel it in the quiet spaces of the relationship. Pay attention to that feeling. Your instincts are rarely wrong. They are simply very often talked out of. So what do you do? I want to offer you something grounded and real, not dramatic, not desperate. Wisdom. The first thing I want you to consider is giving him space without abandoning yourself. When a man pulls away, the most instinctive response is to move toward him, to reach out more, explain more, show up more. But in many cases, this creates more distance rather than less. You can choose to give him room to return on his own terms, not because you are playing games, but because you understand that his process belongs to him, and your peace does not have to depend on his timing. The second thing is to stay genuinely connected to your own life during this time. Your friendships, your work, the things that bring you joy and remind you of who you are outside of this relationship. This is the most powerful thing you can do, not as a tactic to make him miss you, but because your life is full and valuable regardless of what he is going through. A woman who remains whole during uncertainty is not only healthier, she is also far more grounded in whatever decision she eventually needs to make. The third thing is to have one honest, calm conversation when the time feels right. Not to demand answers, not to express panic, simply to name what you have noticed clearly and warmly. Something like, "I've noticed things have felt a little different lately. I'm not asking you to explain everything. I just wanted you to know that I'm here and I value what we've been building." You can decide to speak your truth once, clearly, and then release the outcome. That is not weakness. That is emotional courage. The fourth thing is to watch the pattern over time, not just the moment. One instance of pulling away tells you very little. A pattern, how he pulls away, whether he returns, how he returns, and whether he acknowledges the distance at all, tells you everything about who he is and what this relationship is capable of holding. Give yourself permission to see that pattern clearly without fear shaping what you are willing to see. This is not about him anymore. This is about you. The real lesson here is not simply how to navigate a man who pulls away. The deeper lesson is about the quality of the relationship you have with yourself when someone creates distance. A woman who is secure in her own worth does not unravel when a man pulls back. She notices, she feels, she may even grieve the closeness she felt just days before, but she does not lose herself in the space he created. I want you to understand something that I believe is one of the most important things any woman can learn. You cannot love someone into emotional availability. You cannot be patient enough, understanding enough, or present enough to change a man who is not ready or willing to move toward you. What you can do, the only thing truly within your power, is remain honest about what you feel, clear about what you need, and faithful to the version of yourself who deserves love that never makes her question her own worth. Confusion in love is often a sign. Pay attention to it. A man who is right for you will come toward you, not just at the beginning, but consistently, over time, and especially when it matters most. Thank you for spending this time with me today, my dear. If this video helped you, please share it with a friend who needs to hear this, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of your heart. In the next video, we are going to talk about how to tell the difference between a man who is genuinely interested and one who is simply enjoying your attention. Don't miss it. It builds directly on what we covered today. The link will be right here.